Shirley Caesar married the love of her life in 1983. 31 years later, she lost him and everything collapsed. Her stepchildren turned against her in a bitter battle over the estate. Rumors of her death went viral online. Even her own siblings accused her of exploiting their mother's suffering for fame. The woman who gave away 75% of what she earned to support others could not even purchase peace for herself. Her biggest tragedy wasn't losing her voice, it was losing her family. Shirley Caesar was born on October 13, 1938, in Durham, North Carolina. She was the 10th child of 13 children. Her family was so poor that they hardly had enough food, clothing, or room. Her father, James Caesar, worked long hours at a tobacco factory and continued to sing on the weekends with a gospel group called the Just Come For. He had a famous, deep gospel voice in the neighborhood. But despite the amount of singing he did, the money was never sufficient for a house full of 8 girls and 5 boys. Shirley's mother, Hi, was half disabled. But somehow, she managed to feed all 13 children on nearly nothing. Shirley learned growing up that survival was not about comfort. It was about strength and sacrifice. Everything changed in 1945. Shirley was just 7 when her father unexpectedly fainted from a brain seizure. He passed away there, and her childhood was over. With no cash and 13 mouths to feed, Shirley felt she had no alternative. She made up her mind that she would start singing in churches to earn some money. She was only 7 years old when she became the breadwinner for her family. There was no time to weep, no space for mourning. Her voice was her profession, her means of survival. Nobody was given time to recover. Rather, she got up and started singing so that her family would not go hungry. Shirley was already shaking church walls with her loud alto voice by the age of 10. She was addressed as Baby Shirley, not because she was small, but because she was so young and innocent-looking. She had to stand on boxes to be noticed. But when she sang, even grown men cried. At 14, she had no fixed home. She rode the Jim Crow South by herself, sitting all night in bus terminals, holding a cherry Coke and a burger from her mother. Some ministers paid her 50 cents to sing a week, then took hundreds for themselves. But she continued singing, stomping her feet, working the crowd, making each performance a blast of sound. That voice was the only thing she had. Her mother's health continued to decline. High paralyzed leg, and couldn't walk without help. At just 12, Shirley became her mother's full-time caregiver. She changed her clothes, helped her walk, and still found time to sing in churches to keep the lights on. She kept doing this for over 30 years. Even after she became famous, she never hired anyone to help. It was always Shirley doing everything herself. Her mother's pain became her fuel. It made her stronger, even though it shattered her heart. Shirley graduated from Hillside High School in 1956 and attended college to learn business. But something odd occurred during a typing test. She heard a voice say her name. When she questioned the girl in her class if she was the one who said the name, she replied no. Shirley heard the voice again later that day, this time louder. It told her, "Behold, I have called you from your mother's womb, and I have anointed your lips to preach the gospel." That voice rocked her to the core of her being. She quit college straight away. Her teachers were amazed. Her family couldn't comprehend, but Shirley knew this calling wasn't of the world. It was from God. August 15th, 1958, at the age of 19, Shirley auditioned for and joined the Caravans. One of America's largest gospel groups approached Albertina Walker and said bluntly that she could sing every part, and she did. Her stage presence stunned everybody. She didn't sing. She moved, she danced, she wept. Her approach broke all the gospel rules. During her first recording session on December 30th, 1958, engineers couldn't believe the power in her voice. The Caravans became famous fast, selling over 50,000 records that year. But behind the success, Shirley was still sleeping in buses and skipping meals. She had already recorded her first song back in 1951 when she was only 13. The song was called I'd Rather Jesus, but record labels rejected it. They told her she was too young to know pain, so she sold it to herself. On tour with a one-leg preacher in the Corollas, she sang in barns and small churches, making $5 or $15 tops. The record sold fewer than 1,000 copies. Shirley considered giving up, but she didn't. Shirley traveled with the Caravans from 1958 to 1966 throughout the Deep South. They performed over 300 performances a year. Segregation was the norm in most of the venues. White gospel bands earned up to $800 per performance. The Caravans were paid $150. In Birmingham, Alabama, in 1963, they were refused rooms by 17 hotels and had to overnight on their bus. In Mississippi and Georgia, she witnessed police attacking black crowds with hoses. In Montgomery, one time, bottles were hurled at them during a performance. Shirley employed these moments through her music. Her music turned into coded messages for civil rights. Her voice was transformed into a weapon of hope. But Shirley had had enough by 1966. She was earning just $75 a week, while the male singers were taking home 5 times as much. She demanded more control and an equal share of the money from Albertina Walker. Albertina wouldn't budge. Even after being offered $100 and 5% royalties, Shirley quit. Everyone told her not to. Magazines forecasted she would fail. Record executives informed her she'd never sell outside of a group. Even Mahalia Jackson advised her not to sing alone, but certainly wasn't listening. She was signed by Hob Records for $50,000, the largest contract ever awarded to a black female gospel singer at the time. In 1967, she recorded her first solo album, My Testimony. It sold 15,000 copies that year. Critics were at a loss for words. The lyrics were raw and agonizing. She was singing about poverty, racism, and loss of faith. Some labeled it as too personal. One magazine even complained that it was not Christian enough, but certainly did not care. She was being honest, and people listened. Her authenticity created a new type of gospel following. In 1969, she collaborated again with Reverend James Cleveland. At one church service, they impromptu sang a whole song in real time. The audience felt as if the ground was vibrating. That recording became one of the strongest live gospel albums ever. Cleveland had collaborated with Arthur Franklin previously, but he said surely something was different. Her singing and preaching were exactly the same thing. Even after all that, the gospel world still treated her unconscionably. She made 30 to 40% less than men. Producers instructed her to cool it. Contracts required her to seek male approval before she could release songs. Posters emphasized that she looked good, not that she sounded good. Concerts billed her as a special guest rather than a headliner. Even when she was the primary attraction, but she persisted. She never ceased. When she received her very first Grammy nomination in 1969, all of them believed that she would win, but she lost. Years down the line, it was revealed that the votes had been tampered with. One of the other participants had a manager on the voting board. That manager was betting on the outcome. Shirley finally emerged victorious in 1971, but the damage had already been suffered. The truth wasn't revealed until 2020. The Grammy process was entirely revamped in 2021 due to scandals such as hers. Also in 1969, she was on the Mike Douglas show. Most visitors told jokes or sang gentle songs, but Shirley brought the full fury of gospel to the stage. She shouted, she sang, and she wielded her tambourine. The phone lines were lightning. CBS received more than 3,000 calls in hours. Some were outraged, some were astounded. It was the first experience that many white audiences had witnessed the strength of black church worship, and it shook them. In 1972, something peculiar happened that altered Shirley Caesar's life. She made a record titled, Put Your Hand in the Hand of the Man from Galilee. It wasn't a song that she composed. It was first sung by Anne Murray in 1970, but Shirley sang it with soul and passion, and it earned her a Grammy for Best Soul Gospel Performance. It was her very first Grammy, but far from celebration, the award created a whirlwind. A lot of gospel traditionalists were outraged. They claimed that Shirley was commercializing sacred music. They claimed it sounded too pop-like, but Shirley refused to give up. She told them she was still singing for God, though differently. That Grammy placed her in history as one of the earliest black gospel artists to actually cross over into the mainstream. Though others complained, it made her a name both within gospel and beyond it. Her Grammy address was unforgettable. Amidst a gathering of R&B and pop